So Arslan, thank you very much for talking to me today about digital transformation. This video is going to be very useful for students at the University of Waterloo, help them to better apply the things that they're learning inside their degrees. So can I just start by asking you to tell me about the job that you do now?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm a senior manager at Deloitte Digital. Within Deloitte, our digital practice is a unique model. It's part business, part creative, part technology. What does that really mean? It actually means that we bring the business chemistry or business kind of trends, creative artistry, and technological experience under one umbrella to solve or bring innovation at the doorstep of our customers, right? And within the Deloitte Digital team, my focus is actually on leading large-scale technology digital transformation projects, focused more on the customer-facing digital assets. And the area, for example, for me is actually starts from ideation, goes up to strategic direction, and actually then building those cool products that we ideated with the customer. So I work towards with the entire journey with the customers.
Very exciting job. And could you tell me how you define digital transformation?
I'm glad you asked, actually. The digital transformation is certainly an interesting word. And I say that interesting word is because if you look at Google Trends, and it's the Google Trends over time, and see how people have been searching the terms associated with digital transformation in the last 3 years have become one of the leading search terms. And it index went from score of 25 to 100, and 100 is a peak, by the way, compared to the other terms in the digital, right? So it's very important, it's highly searched term. What it also means is that people don't understand it completely. That's why they're searching for it. To me, actually, the term digital transformation is not just one term. In order for you to explain that, I probably will say that you got to understand the triangle or trio of digital. So it starts from digitization, digitalization, which is number 2, and then digital transformation. They're not in a sequence, for argument's sake, but just from an explanation perspective, if you go back to digitization, converting the analog to digital, so which is basically paperless, right? Digitalization is using the digital technology to enable or disrupt your business model, right? And the business model that you're changing could be related to a revenue generating model or new revenue generating model, or shifting or improving the way you work with your employees, as an example. And when you come to digital transformation, it's actually the change associated with that digital technology implementation in society in general. So let's recap. What does that mean? Digitization is the conversion. Digitalization is the process of that conversion, process that you take, and digital transformation is the change that basically empowered us with everything. Now, the two terms, digitalization and digital transformation, they kind of overlap quite heavily, and that's why in the industry you'll see that they get used interchangeably as well. But overall, that's what it means to me, the digital transformation.
Wonderful, thank you. It's a bit clearer now. Although organizations may sometimes have different ideas about it, why are they so interested in digital transformation today? How are they being disrupted?
Digital is a new era of business. It's a stepping stone on evolution of this world, which is enabled by technology, right? So what I mean is that people have been in this digital journey for a very long time, right? I think they've been doing it in silos, and now it's just talked about a lot more, and that it's becoming it's basically a discussion with every customer that we are there, right? Even if you look at Deloitte, we over the last 5 or 6 years, we've heavily invested in our Deloitte Digital team, and it's heavily grown, right? And we brought people from different parts of the organization, and then obviously kind of got an industry experts on top of it. The point I'm trying to come across is that the companies who are a lot more interested is because the consumer or the side of the world is demanding it, right? They expect the companies to be a lot more involved, or share the information real time with them, right? So as an example, let's say if you're a commuter and you take GO train every morning to work, you want to know if there is a service outage. You don't want to show up on a 7:30 train 5 minutes before, rushing in, and it's actually 15 minutes late. You want those service alerts not just posted, you wanted them to be given to you, but then you want them to be consumable. It's the demand from the consumer that's actually triggering a lot more interest. And also the pressure organizations are going through for basically operational improvement side as well. And digital transformation is big on that. And an example that I probably would give that kind of helps with this is a large pool chemical company that I have been working on for the last couple of years. They are one of the leading CBD companies in pool chemical business. And we have built a water purification or water testing robo for them. So what is that taking a droplet of water and it tells you what's wrong with your water and then recommends you the products. Actually, they've been testing and doing water analysis since 1970s. That's 50 years before I got involved. And they were sticking up the pre-calc program calculator results on their receipts, gluing them in 1970s. So what are they doing differently? At the face of it, they're still doing water testing. But what they're doing now is they're enabling that, they're disrupting the whole experience. They're taking the water testing and we call it the smart pool of future, right? Because you're using the droplet of water to tell what's wrong, but then actually go a step further, which is recommend the products, how to use those products, and then integrate this result into a point of sale system so you can impact the customer journey of the buying journey of a customer as well. And then potentially use the buying habits to influence the loyalty program, benefiting both the buyer and the seller, by the way, because the buyer will get the benefit because they can get some promotional value out of it, and the seller will actually have the ability to sell more. But then if they stop here, somebody can come in and create an app which can do water testing very quickly, now that all that information is available. But in order for this organization to stay ahead, they need to continuously evolve, learn, and bring, like, for example, IoT into the mix, how this future will look like, and they gotta stay nimble and they gotta stay on their feet. Otherwise, a small company is going to come and change the dynamics. And I think that's the kind of points that you see. There's a lot of urgency, a lot of reasons why organizations are embarking upon this journey and continuing to embark upon again and again. It's not a one-time effort where you do a transformation and you stand still, right?
What are the technologies that are especially being featured in organizations' transformation activities today?
I think technology is probably the very, number one thing people talk about. I think people often think that blockchain is digital transformation as a technology, right? I think to me, in this digital Darwinism of technology where it's disrupting, right? The new thing is coming in every day. Trends are more important to look at, which are a holistic way of looking at digital transformation. So when we look at digital 2018, digital trends or the new trends this year or the years to come, I think that on top of my mind is the touchless interface. So it's basically everything and anything to do with voice. Alexa and Google has made it to your living room, right? But it's also in any big organization, they are looking at how voice, from a grocery chain to banking, how is voice going to change the experience of a consumer? How can the voice help, right? And it's a big change, and it's a big trend that we're seeing in the industry right now being discussed. Another one that comes in mind is your digital reality, which is your virtual world, right? AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, so many terms, but they're all to do with improving the experience of you with the digital world. And it is real, right? If you look at IKEA's app for buying, how they're improving the buying experience, where you can take a furniture and see it from their app store right into your living room virtually, is a changing game, and it's a disruption that's ongoing. And I think these are the kind of trends that we are seeing heavily, right? Others are like mobile first is shifting into AI first, right? And then potentially maybe one other that I can talk more about is the concept of digital twins is a trend that is picking up heavily, talked about a lot. It's not new, something new. NASA came up with this, I believe, in early days of space travel, right? And it's basically the linkage between the physical and virtual world. So what it is in a simple term is that you're learning from the physical world, and your virtual world has the ability to process and predict where the improvements in the real world can be, and you bring that concept back. And it is the IoT concept, right? And whether it's predictive maintenance or the factory for future, the Industry 4.0, all of that is kind of can be encompassed in that one digital twin concept. So to me, these are some of the trends that you'll continue to hear more about and how they're going to change the way we live and the businesses do things around us.
What do you see as the impact that digital transformation of organizations might have on society more broadly?
The digital impact on the business is very clear. It's very direct. You can see it, it's happening. The society side of it is very interesting because digital is not just, if you change something on the business side, there's indirect impact. If you don't see it, they're just happening still. I was reading an article about World Economic Forum where they were talking about 6 million new jobs to be created in the next decade in the field of electricity by the virtue of digitalization, right? By the way, you use the term digitization, not digital transformation. Mm-hmm. And at the flip of that side, there are jobs being lost because of automation. So there are clearly winners and losers in this journey of digitalization, right? And to me, society is getting disrupted as well, and we need to be cautious. We need to look at it, and we need to be ready. And especially companies have a big role to play. They need to make sure that their employees and their workforce are ready for this change, right? So if you go from an automation, how can you actually equip them with newer skills, get them ready? And one interesting term, and again, just talking about the measuring part of this metrics, the World Economic Forum actually came with this term called digital value to society, DVS. So they measured the digital value to society for any of the digital transformation projects in general, because they want to see the impact that is happening. Because remember, sustainability is another interesting part of digital. So with digital, one prediction says that you will be able to reduce 6 billion tons of CO2 emission, which is the same in the next 10 years, which is the same vision that Europe does by just being digitized. Mm-hmm. So there's value on both sides. I think it's plus and minuses, and we just need to stay put and be ready for that change.
What do you see as the role of education in supporting successful transformation? Are there ways in which you think education itself might need to change in order to support it more effectively?
Learning is the only way you can stay ahead of this curve. And whether how you define learning, how you get learning is all in the mix of what we're gonna, you have to talk and figure it out. But learning is the only way, right? Whether you're an experienced employee or whether you're just getting into the workforce or you're thinking about what you want to become. If you want to become a doctor, still you need to know how digital is going to change, because the way you operate is different than what you operated 10 or 30 years ago, right? And I think education and some of the organizations around this area are highly important, and I would classify them into learning it and living it category. So learning it part, and I think in both of those, educational institutions have a big role to play, right? But learning it is, giving the option for you to learn the way you want, right? And also giving you the opportunities to, learn from industry experts, bringing more practical side of it. And the living it is part is allowing students to actually go out and test what they have learned as well, right? And not just live, keep learning and not knowing the practical side of it. And the last part of living it is also as an individual. If you are interested in technology, you should figure it out how you're using it. Because remember that just by using WhatsApp, you're already using digital as a mechanism. But then start thinking more than what you're using it, what the usability of that is at large, right? Because we see an organization having similar challenges as you as an individual. So if I'm chatting with my wife or my 3 other friends, and I want to share a picture and I can't forward it, that feature does not exist. Organizations are having similar kind of challenges, maybe different features. But how do you go about it? I think conceptually, keeping an open mind and continuing to do that is a key thing for us to continue to learn, right? It's a fascinating time, but we wanna stay put and we wanna continue to learn.
Are there things that governments should be doing to enable digital transformation of the economy?
I think government has a very important role to play. And it's not just that everything we point toward the government should do, but in this case, I think government can help put a better structure for startups, younger minds to come together. And you see this in organizations like ours, right? And universities like University of Waterloo, you'll see hackathons going on, right? You see those blockchain coding, like code for Czech or so, like there are these kind of great forums for young minds to come and learn and do things differently. And but at the government level, you need to actually nurture that talent and give them the platform to be actually more successful. And this Canadian Digital Supercluster is a great example, a great initiative of bringing private sector, public sector, and universities together for innovation, right? And I think great things will happen from there. So we are excited where it will go for all of us.
So back to organizations, where should organizations start with digital transformation? What should their first steps be?
Each organization, depending on their size, complexity, where they are in this journey, the step is different. But I think the most important part, whether you have it or you need to define it, is define the ambition, which is what is the ambition for you to become digital, right? And it is what you want the future state to be, right? From a digital, it's the number one thing that you need to have, and then get agile, which means agile is not just doing the agile project management. It means really like start focusing on value-driven projects or value-driven engagements as opposed to fixed budget, longer-term plans, because the world is disrupting faster than we can kind of put an eye to it. So it's important for us to stay ahead of this innovation curve, right? And I think those are the key things that organizations should focus towards.
Are some organizations more likely to be successful than others with digital transformation, and why do you think that is?
I think there are 2 points, right? I think technology, the first one is technology is at the disruption of this digital transformation. And it's fundamental to the change, but it is not digital transformation. The organizations that understand that strategy leading the digital transformation is the way to go are the ones that are probably more likely to be successful. Because let's be frank, like they will know what they want from it. So rather than implementing a technology and trying to solve something that might not be needed to be solved or could have been solved with a different technology a lot more easily, right? And the second thing is organizations that are willing to get out. So what do I mean by get out? Well, get out means in our terminology is about looking at cross industry, opening your mind and thinking and learning. We don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. If we can learn from Uber being a logistic company, right, and an experience company, we can learn so much cross industry from the disruptions going on. And if you look at the BMW's iDrive, it was actually that whole idea came from a gaming console. Companies are learning from these other industries for a very, very long time. Now it's a lot more easier because that information is available, right? And it's just having the presence of mind along with the ability to be open-minded so that you can bring the two together and then try to solve it and make it relevant for you and your industry.
Similarly, what do you think the main challenges are that organizations face in achieving effective digital transformation?
I think the big one is the lack of clarity. It goes back to the same one, right? If you don't have an ambition or a strategy, you don't have a clarity, why are you embarking upon it? And that's a remedy for failure, right? And the other part is your lack of expertise. So organizations often don't have the expertise and the knowledge to take digital, to how to go about the digital transformation side as well, right? I think these are the two key generic ones that are probably applicable to most organizations. But other than that, it goes back to the same thing, right? The challenges are different depending on size and the nature of industry. Like if you're a mining company, potentially it could be because your workforce is not ready for a change compared to a bank, which actually has probably silos and you need to work with them differently. And that's why when we get involved, we understand your organization maturity level and also where you fit so that we can kind of come up with a custom remedy for you and how to go about it, right?
So you help organizations innovate on a daily basis. Can you tell me how organizations can be more innovative? What are some of the things they can do?
I think most organizations are embracing innovation. It's a buzzword everybody's talking about. I think companies have innovation hubs, they talk about it. But what they often, in my experience, I see is they have a team that is focused on innovation, and the rest of the company continues to work the way they were working before. But so it's not a mindset change. It's almost like we're investing in a certain portion and let's see what comes out of it. But that is not innovation. Innovation is not just about coming up with something new every time. Innovation is about doing something differently. Just about process optimization, and as an example, right? The pool company example that I gave at the start, if you really look at it, we didn't do anything different, anything individually innovative. Water testing existed, customer management existed, digital experience already existed in the industry, POS integration, point of sale integration exists, loyalty is certainly not new, IoT is something that's happening for like a little bit of a time. What we did is we brought all of that together to bring a smart pool of future together, and that is innovation. So innovation is more than just coming up with new things. It could be stitching of existing things together, and that's organizations that understand that are probably ahead of the curve.
People who'll be watching this, many of them will be entering the workplace soon. How do you think they can better contribute to the organizations that they're going to join?
First of all, if you're entering workforce, or even if you're reshifting and coming back into this tech-heavy digital world, you're entering at the best time you could have imagined in your career, right? The question is, are you equipped, and what the industry is looking for, right? And I think learning before coming on, people is very important, right? So first of all, get to know your terminology, right? You don't want to get trumped by people throwing these jargons of industry terminology. They stem from the similar things you might have been able to find in your own background. And if you are a fashion designer who's getting into digital, you know what? You have a creative mind that is so valuable in this digital journey, right? Because you can impact the user experience. You understand that creative and brand aspect of it, right? And remember, the brand definition now is, historically it was a branding, marketing used to tell you. Now the brand is what your experience with that brand is. You define it. So it's important for you, for your brand even, to know is that, you know what, your own experience is unique, and people value the diversity that you bring on the table. And digital is not just about techies, right? We have people from humanities leading digital transformation projects because they understand human psychology, and that's why I go back to that World Economic Forum 2020, I think, skill set of future. The two skills that are new in that from the last decade are cognitive flexibility, emotional intelligence. So cognitive flexibility is letting go of your belief and implementing something new, and emotional intelligence is just empathy with emotions. I think those soft skills are important as well. So you want to keep a balance on both sides of the spectrum. And maybe my final suggestion to the folks listening would be passionate. So if you're passionate, you will read with purpose, and that means that you're going to learn new things. And don't be stuck with your passion, because it will change. So if you like something, start with that and be open-minded, because when you start reading, you'll find that there are many more opportunities, and that's what companies are looking for. We're looking for passionate people who can add value to us and our clients.
Well, Arslan, thank you for talking to me today with such passion, which you clearly reflect yourself, and I'm sure that this is going to be very valuable for our students.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me. Thank you very much.